There's Ali. Okay, trying my best. Oh, I see you. I saw your like, Ali, but it's not picking you up as a viewer. There you are. Okay. Bring them on camera and do it. Sorry, Kate. Maybe we should do a training for everyone. Hi.
Hi.
I was just saying
Hi, everyone.
I was saying to Kate, maybe she should do a training for us. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Yes,
Okay.
Kate should definitely do a training for us. Kate's the only one that seems to know what she's doing.
Yes.
When it comes to lives, anyway. I wonder if I can raise this up a bit. No, I don't think I can. Okay, we'll have to stay there. How are you doing today, Rebecca?
Well, I'm doing very well. I have a lovely day lined up for myself, so I'm ready for a 90-minute massage.
Oh, wow. How lovely.
Oh, okay, we've got a delay now. I hope it's not my
We have a little delay.
connection.
Yes. Yeah. That's okay. We'll take it slow. We'll take it easy.
Hopefully it will.
I think I saw Kate.
I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, me too. Let's see.
Yeah.
I thought I saw Kate saying hi, which is very cool. Hi, Kate. We've got a couple of minutes
we have Hilda
before the official start time. So, oh, Hilda. Hello, Hilda.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was thinking we could introduce ourselves.
Yes. Introducing ourselves is good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope this delay straightens itself out.
If not, we'll have to divide our time. I could try going out and going back in again if you felt like that was a good idea.
Oh, let's try it quickly.
Shall I? Yeah. Hi, Natalia. I'm just going to go out and come back in again. I'll try it, Rebecca. See you in a sec. How's that?
Here we are.
Is that better?
Yes, much better.
Yeah, it is better. Good. Excellent. Okay, good. Well, we're at 2 o'clock. Shall we start?
Yes, let us start and make the most of every moment.
Yes, exactly.
Would you like to do the intro or?
Yeah, sure. Shall I start? I'll introduce myself.
Oh,
and then you can introduce yourself. So, hi everybody, I'm Ali Carrington. I've been a dog listener for hello Colin, about the same time as Colin, actually. It's about 10 years. And I started because of that young lady. That's Chili. She's 11 and a half. I've currently, my other team member is there. That's Ludo. He's 4. And so, yeah, I just love to spread the word about dog listening, and yeah, see if I can help anyone that has any questions today. I'd be really excited to answer with the glorious and very experienced help of my esteemed American colleague, Rebecca.
You make me laugh every time you say esteemed. I'll never get used to that. So yes, I am Rebecca Trono. I'm based in the northeastern Vermont area in the United States. And I've been offering dog listening since about 2013. I got into this because I had easy dogs for years and years, and then I had 2 terrific teachers who really threw me for a loop and made me stop, think, and search. And thankfully, adopting this beautiful method, and it made life so much better for all of us. And I just want to take a moment here to give a shout out to all our group members, because I have been so heartened and so fulfilled by the amount of support between group members. I just have to say, it is the most lovely environment that I've been in online, and I couldn't be more grateful. I could not be more grateful to be in the company of such caring and compassionate people. So let us jump in. Heather was having some Heather Shepherd.
Totally agree, by the way.
Nice. So are you experiencing a delay on your end again, Ali?
Yeah, we have a little delay. So do you start off with the one that you were going to go to? I think you said Heather Shepherd. And then if I've got anything to add, yes, I can pop in at the end.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so Heather, I see that you're here. I'm glad that your sound has been straightened out. I'm excited that you're going to hear firsthand. Your question: barking at visitors and son if they move. The dog jumps and nips if given a chance. Putting her in quiet rooms causes frustration and further anxiety. Don't know what to do for the best. Would love some expert guidance. Well, obviously you came to the right place. I have some question about your question. And one of them is, whose frustration and further anxiety is this? Who's experiencing the anxiety and the frustration when you place the dog away for reflection? Is it you? Or are you concerned about the dog's reaction? This is very, very important, because we have to be stronger than the dog. We have to be more determined than the dog to get this right with them and for them. And sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sometimes it's very uncomfortable to hear them struggle while they're in another room. Kind of pulls at the heartstrings sometimes. But when you see the results of your consistency and you see the dog figure it out, okay, so if I'm doing this, if I'm jumping and nipping at people, I lose the company of my people. Well, I don't want that. Maybe I need to make a better choice next time. They really do go through this reasoning of, this is the action, here was the consequence, I need to change my behavior. But if we don't give them enough time because we feel bad and we want to let them out early, we rob them of that opportunity to learn the lesson that you're trying to share with them. So just a thought. Oh, you're welcome, Heather. Okay, so barking at visitors and Son, if they jump or move, this falls in the area of status. You know, we talk about in dog listening the 4 areas, and status is the overarching umbrella for them all. This is, in my opinion, and I think most people would agree, it's the most important area. You've got to get this right, moment to moment with your dog. And it sounds so urgent. I'm trying to make it, but it's really important that they come to believe in you in terms of your status, your role, what your job is. So if there's an issue when visitors come, then, you know, once everyone settles down, but then someone gets up, that's a change. That's a sudden change. And the dog is already perhaps struggling with the fact that the group has gotten bigger and he's trying to figure out, oh, Oliva, she barks and salivates and scratches. Oh, this is the time away. My son and husband get angry with her. Well, that's really hard. And I can sympathize with that. Hopefully, if you can reframe it in a way, or perhaps ask them to watch this recording so that they understand what this technique or response to the dog's behavior is, they can get on board in terms of, well, this is just a teachable moment. If the concern is about destroying the door, you can actually get clear laminate. Is it laminate? It's a poly something. It's a clear poly something that you can screw to the back of your door, and that will protect the door. Often I will say that I have to sacrifice a room for a door in the beginning, but it doesn't last long. How long would you leave her to carry on? She's such an anxious dog. Well, in the beginning, for some dogs, it is a lot, and it's kind of a shock to their system, like, what? You know, oh my gosh, how did I end up here? Literally, I would say, as soon as she quiets, you could count to 3 or you could count to 5. And it's not a 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a slower count, getting your own breath, getting your own pulse rate down, preparing for her to return. And Ali's got a great comment. All right, jump in.
Actually, I have a question for Heather, which is, Heather, can she, I don't think you said her name, can she be in a different room to you on a normal basis? Or is she very much your shadow, following you around the house? I wonder if she, oh, it's about 20 minutes. That is in answer to yours, Rebecca. The reason I ask about whether she's comfortable on her own, I wonder whether she's actually experienced being on her own in a room. Before we time them out, I think sometimes it's worth understanding how anxious or calm they can be when they're in a different place to us anyway. So I guess I'm talking a little bit about separation anxiety, which again totally fits in with what Rebecca was talking about in terms of status. She's got her status mixed up. She's going to be very uncomfortable being anywhere separated from you. So that's something that I would always ask. And I'm just going to jump into probably what, Rebecca, you were going to say anyway. We have to be fair. If we're going to be expecting her to be calm with visitors and move, you know, just generally lots of moving parts in the household, we have to be fair about the guidance we give to our visitors and our family members. We have to ask them to not look at her so much. We have to ask them to disregard her a little bit more. And we, you know, we've just got to work. If we've got to give her the behavior to follow. If we're constantly looking at her and, you know, engaging with her, she's going to be on the edge all the time, and it's going to be much easier for her to lash out. Plus, she's going to be even less comfortable about being put into a timeout on her own. So the timeouts need to be given calmly, immediately, no talking, no looking. I would have her on the lead so that you don't have to manhandle her in any way and give her attention in that way. So I wonder if the manner in which you do the timeout is also something that you can have a look at. I'm just going to have a look here. Nugget. Oh, her name's Nugget. That's so cute. Yes and no. She has an obsession with my adult son. She can be left if we go out. She sleeps. Okay, that's good. And okay, so she can be left if you go out, but does she, you know, she's obsessed with your adult son, so maybe she's following your adult son around. So being separated from him in a stressful way is going to be even more stressful for her. So those two things need looking at. And maybe one thing I would encourage your adult son to do is when he does move out of the room, first of all, don't look at her. Don't respond to anything. You can maybe have her on the lead if he's the one that she's going to go and nip, but he should just leave the room and close the door so that she gets used to him coming and going. He doesn't need to be out very long. He can come back in a few seconds time even to begin with, but he just needs to not look at her and disregard her during those periods of time. The coming and the going is really important. No attention around people coming and going. And I wonder if for you it would help for her to be on the lead. Oh, Heather says,
I see that
my son ignores her already. Tried all of this. Go on, Rebecca.
So the word tried is problematic. You know, I'm going to do my best Yoda. Either do or do not, there is no try. And when you are attempting to make such changes in your relationship with your dog, changes in the way you're communicating with your dog, you must do it for a period of time. So if you say, I am going to commit to this to 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, it doesn't matter what it is, but having all 4 areas in place and being consistently calm and convincing. Ali brought up a really important point, which is how you're bringing her into timeout and how people are behaving when she comes out, because it really isn't anything about what the dog is doing. It's wholly about what we are doing and our response to the dog's behaviors communicate everything to the dog in terms of its position, its responsibility, its role, its place in the group. And so being calm, consistent, convincing, fully answering those status questions when you come back together after a separation, and that even means timeout, is critical. These are all conversations that you're having with your dog. And if you're saying to your dog, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, the dog is going to double down. Mine sure did. I have to tell you, mine did, because I didn't have a full understanding. I hadn't worked with a dog listener one-on-one, and I had most of the pieces in place, but there were some things that I was being very confusing about, which I didn't realize. So that's just something to take in, being very calm in response to her nipping and jumping and biting, having that leash so you can just lead her off calmly. These things all add up. They all build on one another. And I hope that helps. Okay, so Ali, would you like to take the question about the sibling rescue dogs chasing the cat?
That was from Catherine Leatheran. I don't know whether she's on, is she? Let's have a look. Don't see her. Hello, Catherine, when you're watching this later. So you have sibling rescue dogs chasing cats, and then you put on a later question. So I'm wondering if these are the same 2 dogs we're talking about, because your later question was 2 Chihuahua crosses. So I'm going to assume they're the same. And they won't chase cats alone, but they will when they're together, double trouble is what you're saying. So absolutely. And really interesting to me, the size of them. You know, Chihuahua crosses, they're going to be pretty small. And that might be that the cat is the same size as them, or even it could be that the cat is bigger than them. So for me, it sounds simply like safety in numbers, and also encouragement in numbers. You know, it's more fun together. They can stay safer together, and they can be really strategic and practice and play together. So togetherness, I think, is part of the deal there. You haven't actually asked a question, so I'm not going to assume that you've asked anything around that. That's just my comment based on your comment saying they won't do it alone, but they will when they're together. So I'm going to go to your second question, which is, 2 Chihuahua crosses don't ask to be let out for a wee. I sometimes have to encourage them or pick them up and put them outside, especially if it's raining. Absolutely. Yesterday, one of them scratched at the door and went out for a wee. Assuming that is okay, or is that a leader thing to do, to scratch and then I let her out? Just a general question about dogs peeing inside instead of asking to go out. Okay, so you're having some toileting issues. So Catherine, actually my dogs don't ask to go out either, but I do give them ample opportunity, and I invite them to come outside with me for that opportunity. With a new rescue or a puppy, I would be setting my alarm on my phone or something like that, getting them out in the garden every hour to begin with, to kind of suss out how often they do actually need to go. And when I do it like this, the good thing about it is that if my dogs do suddenly rush to the door, I know that probably they're going to be sick, or they're desperate to eat grass or something like that. So I think we do need to stay clear of encouraging our dogs to ask to go out. Chances are the smart ones might start to ask to go out simply to come back in again. And then we just end up being the butlers or the concierge or the doorman. So I hope that makes sense. I would give your 2 Chihuahua crosses lots of opportunity that you lead outside. And I wouldn't actually get into a rhythm of them asking to go out, because you never know what they're asking to go out for. Anything to add on that, Rebecca?
No, I think that was perfect. Inviting them out on your terms is just great advice. And if it's raining, you know, dogs experience rain very, very differently, and instinct tells them that there's no point in going outside. Their sense of smell is altered. Their hearing is very different from ours, so they experience the sound much more differently. And in a natural setting, they just wouldn't choose to go out. And it's not a danger to them if they spend the entire day just lounging inside without going out to have toileting time. You can ask them, but I mean, I wouldn't want to have to go outside. So I hope that helps. I see you want them to stop chasing the cats if they're not keen on, if they're not keen on going out, should I pick them up? Okay, Ali, I toss it to you.
I catch it. I wouldn't be picking them up to take them out if they don't want to go out. I would maybe increase the reason for them going out. So if you really wanted them to go out at that particular time and they didn't want to, then I would invite them out for food. For example, we're into a routine with my guys. Wind, rain, snow, whatever, whenever I want to go to bed, we will all go outside for last wees and poos. That bit's just for the dogs, not for me. You know, I make it into a nice routine that they're happy to join me for, because they always get a nice piece of food reward coming out with me. So I'm like, right, come on, everybody out. Once we're out, a little bit of reward. They do their business. I know they've done their business. It's my convenience that I want them to do their business at 10 o'clock rather than 3 a.m. and wake me up. So I'll make it nice for them and in that routine. So that's something you might want to think of, is inviting them out and rewarding them with some food. I wouldn't be picking them up, because then we're not working with their own free will. We're sort of forcing it on them a little bit. So I would try and get them to choose to come with you.
And about chasing
would
the cats?
like them to stop chasing the cats. Yeah. Yes, absolutely agree with you, Catherine. It would be nice if all dogs stopped chasing cats. It would make our lives a lot easier. You don't mention whether they're your cats or whether they are neighborhood cats. And whether they're in the garden or whether they're, you know, when it's out on lead, that kind of thing. Working on your recall will be your best bet here. So can you at any point in time call the dogs and get them to come to you, or do they kind of sit back and go, it's all right, thanks, I'm just going to stay here? Catherine, treat time outside, great idea. They're so nervous, probably better to pick up. Thank you. Okay, great, Catherine, thank you. So yes, check in with how strong your recall is. If it's not amazingly strong on really easy stuff inside, then you've not got a hope in hell getting them back when they've seen a cat. So it's all in stages. If you're finding that there's cats in the garden, for example, then and you really don't want them to chase, then take them out on lead in the garden. And you can do, when you see the cat, you can do something, stop, start, change direction, which you'll have heard us talk about before, you know, to regain their attention. You can go back inside, you can bring them back out again, you can call them for their attention and reward them with food. So there's a number of things you can do to build the strength of calling them back from chasing cats. But it's because it's such a strong one, I would always go back to see where your recall is good, and where it starts to, you know, let you down, and work on it. Because chasing cats is way over there in terms of, you know, strength of recall, and you've got to look at the start of it. Let's really, really work on your recall all the way up to it. If I'm taking mine out and there are cats in my neighborhood, I will just have them on lead until we get to a place where it's perfectly safe for everybody to be off lead. Hope that's okay.
They're inside cats.
My cat's inside, 3 of them. Yes, they will come back mid-run sometimes. Well, I mean, congratulations when they come back mid-run. That's brilliant. Always allow the cats to be able to get through, and you know, be able to be on a higher platform so that they're always safe. I don't know how long you've had these 2 with the cats. That's great, thank you. Well, thanks, Catherine. But sometimes it's just going to take a little bit of time for them all to get used to each other. Okay, so Rebecca, anything for you on the next one?
Yeah. We have this question from Trish. I don't know if she's online here with us. Let's see. My biggest problem with Monty is his resource guarding of me and the grandchildren with my husband. This is always so interesting. So what we have here is not actually resource guarding. This is a question of status once again. Monty is thoroughly confused about what his role is, and he's deciding what interactions will occur within the family. Essentially, he needs to be given the understanding that he's been demoted, that it's really not his decision. And so for the time being, let's say you and your grandchildren are sitting on the sofa watching a video together or reading a book together, and Monty decides to jump up with you uninvited. We would place Monty back down on the ground, on the floor. Everything, you know, in a nutshell, everything has to be on your terms, everything, so that he understands that he's not the one making these decisions. Right now, my dog Leonard has an issue with both of us. It's really interesting because if my husband comes toward me, we'll hear the low growl. If I approach him, if I approach my husband, again, we hear the little low growl. So what we've begun to do, well, number one, we ignore that behavior. He gets absolutely no response from us. We don't even glance down at him. We know that now that this is going to happen. And so I will just bring him to time away. And it's not long, it's not a long timeout, but he needs to understand that this behavior is inappropriate. His decision making is out of bounds, and he needs to just let this go. And that has really helped, but it's in conjunction with all of the other pieces of communication that we give him on a daily basis. How we come and go, what we do when he invades our space, all of those decisions that we make on a daily basis, when he will go outside, when he will receive his food. So, keeping things completely on your terms so he doesn't have to make any of these decisions is the key. I hope that helps. Good. Ali, do you have anything to add to that? I'm sure I probably missed something.
I was also going to say exactly that, about it's a status issue. It's about Monty's confusion about what his role is, in terms of he feels like he's protecting or he's disciplining. Either or, he's got his role confused. And I don't know what stage you're at with dog listening, Trish, but I always check in with movement and space around the dog. So, who's crowding the dog or who isn't. Do we ever really need to go towards him, towards Monty? I wonder if sometimes, I'm assuming that you and the grandchildren are in already, and your husband comes into the house, he's probably coming towards you all, as he would normally, to say hi to you and the grandchildren. But for Monty, that's a problem. He's being approached. So what we might want to do is just really practical level, for a little bit, your husband can maybe give you a call when he's coming in, and you can pop Monty on the lead, or you can even move Monty into a different room just to control that scenario, because it can't be nice. And it, for not least for your husband, but also the grandchildren probably don't, they're not comfortable with this, and you're certainly not. So just try and take control of that particular situation by either having him on the lead or putting him in a different room. And then again, and I would go back to what we were talking about with Heather's issue at the top of the session, make sure that everybody's interacting really calmly with Monty. You don't say how old your grandchildren are, so of course that can be a little bit difficult with really young children. Look into the impact of eye contact on dogs, because it is completely the opposite. The understanding that dogs have from eye contact is completely the opposite than when we use it, humans and other humans. For us, it's all about, love and communication and hi, how are you? For dogs, it really isn't, and it can be quite threatening to begin with. And if it's not threatening, it's asking them to do something. So if Monty's being asked to do something all day, his adrenaline is going to be high, and then husband comes in and then he gets looked at again, and then maybe he feels threatened. I don't know the exact scenario, but hopefully you can kind of pick out some things that we're saying here. So yeah, I'm guessing that because this is happening with your husband's probably a bit wary of Monty, and a natural behavior would be to keep his eyes on Monty, because what we all do when we're a bit nervous of something, what's going to happen next, it's going to be a bit like, oh, what's Monty doing? And that's going to actually increase the likelihood of Monty charging towards him, barking. So that's why it's really important for you to perhaps have Monty on the lead, or take him out of the room, then say hi to your husband. Your husband can have some time with the grandkids. You can also talk to him about this eye contact thing, ask him to keep his eyes up. you might want to download, I don't know whether you've read already, Tony's ebook. That will talk a lot about the comings and goings into the room and how it's really useful to disregard dogs at those points in time. And depending on the age of your grandchildren, I've got an ebook. It's about puppies, but it will also talk about that eye contact thing, and it's through the eyes of a puppy. So it's designed for children. So I don't know whether that would be interesting to help the children get a grip on not engaging too much with Monty, not looking at Monty too much. So I hope that helps.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I just have one more thing to add to this that is generally for everyone. And that is, I mentioned earlier, it doesn't matter what the dog does, but it's very important what we do. And what we need to understand is negative attention is still attention to a behavior. And so if we are, saying no, down, naughty dog, things like that, we're actually giving that dog the feedback to know that, oh, this is an effective strategy. This is a behavior that I can use again to gain everyone's focus. And if the dog gets everyone's focus, that communicates to the dog that they are the most important member of that group. So, it's just like clicker training or, any kind of reinforcement training. We do it without realizing, by responding to a behavior that we don't want. And so the dog will put it in this little file folder of behaviors that work, and they'll bring it back and use it again. So first line of defense is always no defense, no response, remaining neutral and remaining calm, regardless of what the dog does. I hope that helps everyone, because there's a great misunderstanding about how to shape a dog's behavior. And we do tend to shape their behavior to the negative without even realizing what we're doing. I mean, it's not our fault. If you don't know, you don't know. But it's something that I hope everyone can start to think about when they are faced with an undesirable behavior from their dog. So. Oh, we've reached 30 minutes, and I think we've answered all of our questions.
No, I was just well, we have no, but we haven't. We've got one more question to answer, and that's why I was just going to hold you back from stopping the recording, if you don't mind. Right. If you've got a couple more minutes, Rebecca, because what you've said, I thought, oh, this brings us so beautifully onto Ailsa's question. What you were saying about, so Ailsa was asking about her 1-year-old, grabbing stuff, and then getting growly and snappy when we try to save the toy, etc., from her children. And one of the things that I was going to just bring around from what you said was that it almost becomes this cycle of behavior when we hi Elsa, yes, that's you. When the dog does something and we react in whatever way, however we react, oh, he's got my teddy, or stop, give me back the teddy. It's still this negative cycle of attention, and then we're almost encouraging the dog to do it. So that it really reminded me of Ailsa's question. So thank you for that question, Ailsa. It is really difficult when, I know you've said probably it's something to do with training the kids. It is really difficult when the stuff is left in the dog's reach, because then you get this vicious cycle of inappropriate attention. But I know that you know that because you've written it in your question. So a couple of things that I would try, and then Rebecca, you can add on to my suggestions. Can you, Ailsa, maybe restrict his access to some of the rooms? So for example, if the kids can't keep their rooms puppy-proofed, can the kids have a little dog gate on their doors? So that they've got their room and it's dog proofed because of a gate. this is something that I've picked up from Rebecca, actually. So I'm going to just steal it, Rebecca, and then you can add on to it in your glorious way. But I don't know whether you can set a reminder, Ailsa, for a couple of times a day and do a mega sweep around the house with a basket or something. Literally pick everything up. I've heard you say this before, Rebecca. You pick everything up, you do a big sweep, and then you put it somewhere, then the kids can retrieve their stuff from the basket. I guess that's one way of prevention is better. Prevention is always better. Ailsa says, good idea, because read the gate, because they're sometimes incapable of keeping doors closed. Yeah. And a little gate, he's border terrier size. I mean, I'm sure he's athletic, but a little gate that the kids can step over easily, so it's not too hard. And if they get really annoyed about it, maybe that'll encourage them to keep their doors closed or keep the stuff off the floor. I'll pass it over to Rebecca anyway. See what you say.
I don't know how old your children are, but I will often recommend a 5-minute timer. Just set a 5-minute timer. Okay, gang, 5 minutes, timer goes on, and everybody goes through the house picking up their things. And if the things get taken because someone didn't participate, sometimes that's a hard lesson, but one that encourages perhaps being a little bit more proactive on their own. So a natural consequence of not participating is having their Legos taken, or having their book chewed, or whatever it might be. I find that sometimes that's, as a parent, that's kind of hard to allow happen, but it's the best teaching you could possibly have. Old enough to know better, 16 and 12, and yeah, okay. Yep, they're old enough to know better. And so then you can have that conversation. Listen, we're trying to change this behavior. And if the stuff isn't, sometimes he steals a sock direct from a foot. Well, then we go back to having that little gate on the doors. So he can't even enter, but he can see people. So he's not separated. He's still with his family. But yes, so jumping onto the tail of what Ali had said, this behavior is reinforced so easily, especially if you get them as a puppy, because we're always, what does the puppy have in its mouth? Is it going to hurt the puppy? Is it chewing on a wire? Is that a bottle cap? Where did the bottle cap come from? And so we rush over and take it. And so that reinforces the behavior. And then you turn into what I call the grabber. So for a time, everything has to be put away. I mean, I had a client who had a very large doodle dog, and the dog's reach was amazing. And so we had to clear bookshelves to almost the 5-foot mark, and walls, and everything was cleared. And it turned out my client really loved the Zen approach that it brought. It was a much more calming environment for her. But in order to make sure that the dog couldn't grab anything for the time being, especially while you're making this transition into changing that relationship and getting the focus through, the dog can't distract itself or you by grabbing things, right? So you're not constantly dealing with that. So the signals can be taken in. The dog is calm, the dog is ready to learn, you are giving the dog the signals that it needs. But one of the most important signals is, if they grab a sock, you walk away. Just walk away. I had a client whose dog would take scuba gear, scuba gloves, and those are not inexpensive. And this beautiful retriever knew that as soon as she grabbed one of those scuba gloves, the whole family went, so she grabbed a scuba glove while I was there, and I walked over and closed the door. And we turned our backs because it was a full glass door. And her response was to look at us and then look at the glove and just stand at the door to be allowed to come back in. She just left it. She said, oh, but this isn't working. So being brave enough to just say, okay, he's got this. I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to ignore it. He will drop it. And when he drops it, you just saunter over and pick it up and put it away. So yes, grabbers, they are everywhere. It's pernicious, this grabbing behavior, but it's one that we create in our dogs. Good session, Rebecca.
Thanks,
Oh,
Colin.
thank you, Colin.
Actually, I did see another question. It was elsewhere than on the actual post. Did you see it, Rebecca? It was from Chucky Howell. And he says, I have a border collie cross who lies down and stares at other dogs when they're approaching. He's friendly once they meet, but it seems to frighten many dogs. Any suggestions on what I can do? So, Chucky, yes, I would always begin answering this by asking questions about the things that happen when not on the walk. So I would dig into other behaviors that might suggest that he's confused his role a little bit. Maybe he's feeling the weight of protecting you while he's outside in the great outdoors. So perhaps you can start the walk a little bit more slowly. Take your time with everything. Make sure everything is decided by you. So he's called to you to have the collar on, for example. You teach him to go through doors following you rather than leading you. And I mean teaching, not kind of physically restraining. And the big thing we talk about all the time in this group is stop, start, change direction. It's this glorious little method of the moment a dog is choosing where to go, rather than you stop, you turn around, you walk in a different direction. And it teaches the dog to follow you rather than lead when you're on a walk. So that will also help, I'm sure, but to be very specific in that moment, the moment you see another dog, I would take the initiative. I would make sure that he's on the other side of you. I would try and give the other dog as much space as possible. So maybe you could cross the road rather than, deliberately walk towards, because that can feel quite confrontational. I think his behavior is showing that he's quite nervous. So if he sees that you're taking control with really good decisions and not confronting all the time, in time, he's going to become calmer and trust that you're fully capable of keeping him safe when faced with another dog. Do you have anything additional on that, Rebecca?
Just a little point, and then Elsa has a little comment that points to separation anxiety there. But what I say to my clients is, don't wait for that action on the part of the dog. If you see the attention, the ears prick up, they've already spotted something, that's the time. Don't wait for a bark, don't wait for the dog to lie down, because you're allowing the dog to make that decision. So a stiffening, they alert with their bodies first. So if you pick up on that, that's the perfect time to say, thank you, sweetheart. And then, as Ali has mentioned, direct the dog away, bring the dog to the point where they're much more comfortable. You see the dog relax, and then you can do the stop, start, change direction, and just remind your dog that there's no decision making on your dog's part, that you've got it. I think that's really all I have to add to your complete and wonderful answer, Ali, as always.
Well, we are best part of 45 minutes, so we should probably call it a day. I hope we haven't missed anything.
I just want to touch back on Elsa's chewing of the sock, even if the door is closed. Yeah. I would say that if the dog has a sock of an absent family member, that points more to separation anxiety. When they begin to chew something like a sock that's heavily scented. Oh, thank you, Kate. That tends to be the dog trying to calm itself. I mean, Tony mentions, think of when you're watching your favorite team play and the game is close and you're biting your nails. It's just a way of calming themselves. And so that's the chewing releases beneficial hormones in the dog's brains. So you know, it's getting the status question right for the dog, and that will help that chewing destruction behavior. And I tend to think that might be what it is. So yes, time flies when you're enjoying yourselves. Correct. This was so much fun.
Lovely. It's great to have so many questions. Thanks everybody for all your questions. I hope it's a tricky one because we don't know your exact scenario. So I hope there's been some little, I know one of the dogs is called Nuggets. Maybe you've heard a little bit of a nugget to answer your questions. I hope so anyway. Anyway, we're hoping we'll do one of these. It won't be Rebecca and I next week. Do you know who it is next week, Rebecca?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. I'm sorry. No.
But we're trying to do them really regularly, so you'll see us popping up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you all. Thank you all for your beautiful questions, and thank you, Ali.
Kate says
always a
Kate
wonderful time chatting
Thank
with you. Oh,
sorry to interrupt
great.
you, Rebecca. We're still on a little delay, but it's Kate and Saskia next week. So yeah, great. Good. Thank you, Rebecca. Always lovely to join with you and have a lovely chat, as we always do. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.